Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I'm Justine,
And I'm Lisa.
and if you're new here, this is a show that showcases the importance of music and mental health. If you enjoy the show and you want to help support us in any way, all you have to do is follow us on any app. We're on all the apps, subscribe, and leave us a rating or a review. We'd really appreciate it.
Justine, this is a very exciting day. But before we get into this wonderful record, and I know your comfort band and you love this band so much,
Yeah.
how's it going?
Well, I'm still here. We'll put it like that.
I
I'm
feel you, girl.
I'm still here. I know I've touched on it before in a past episode where I'm very much struggling really bad with my health right now. It's been really rough. I keep having to miss episodes to record, and I just can't do anything. It's been, really hard. I'll try to bounce back and I'll think I'm bouncing back and then I get really sick again. And that's been really rough and that's been really hitting my mental health pretty hard when it was already kind of, frazzled. So I'm on the struggle bus right now and I'm just really just trying to keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I know. And that's why, like, again, whenever we don't hear Justine, that's why. And
Yeah.
it's when no one wants to leave me in charge. Trust me. Nobody knows. Like
So not
it's
true.
it's a hot mess situation. But it's when it like I
But yeah, it's just like if I'm not ever on an episode, it's always health. Like on
yeah,
the rare occasion, it would be because I happen to babysit, which doesn't
right.
happen very often though. So almost always it's my health. If I'm not on an episode, I've been sick. So
Yeah, and it's like for me, like I've always said too, like your health and life and everything that comes first. And I feel you where I'm here. Like I've told you too, like I'm private. Like I'm just going
yeah.
through a lot of stuff right now. And it's one of those things too where that's why I'm thankful for the podcast because I can take like a little break and be like,
Yeah.
okay, like for that hour or whatever and get away from it. And it also keeps me busy when I'm really going through it
Yeah.
too with like
No, exactly same.
which is really nice, but I don't know, it's summer, I should be like, "Woo!" But it's also Father's Day weekend, and that's a very difficult time for myself.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
I'm
one of
sure for
those
many others too.
yeah, and that's why I'm saying, like, anyone else going through it, whether you lost your dad, you're estranged from your dad, any situation, I I just my heart and my love goes out to you because I'm with you. It's a difficult day, but what I try to do is keep busy, which what I'm doing tomorrow. So I think just in those moments where I'm like, okay, I'm thankful for this thing. So it just, like, I don't know. I'm in a weird spot where I'm like, oh, it's summer. We should be so happy, but it's all right. I'm happy though, because this is kind of like a good thing about summer is pop punk. So obviously, if anyone clicked on this, you want to hear about Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And admittedly, I did not know this record was 23 years old or just turned 23 years old. I assumed it was like 20. I don't know why. Just all the records turning 20, but like that couldn't be because my age, your age, Justine, and like everybody
Yeah.
around me. I don't know. I have to ask this, Justine, because I forget who I admitted this to. And I don't care who thinks anything of me because of it, but did you when you heard and saw this record and the title, did you understand what it meant and that tongue-in-cheek title of male masturbation? Like, I did not.
Obviously not when it first came out, absolutely not. Because
Right,
in
right.
2001, oh my gosh, I was
Yeah.
like, what, like 12?
Right, yeah, we were ye
We were young, and I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie, and part of this could be the autism, but, like, when it came to anything that had to do with males and their bodies and, like, sex, I did not know about any of it until way later in life than I should have. Like, it's
Right,
embarrassing,
right.
honestly.
I didn't
So, I did not get the whole joke of that until well into high school.
yeah, I think I wanna say I was in high school when this came out. Maybe I'm thinking middle I wanna say because I remember I was on a trip. I was on a Disney trip with my family,
So, you know what?
and
I might have been 13
yeah, I
because
think
I started high school in 2002, so I would have been like 13,
yes. Yes, so y but
but
still,
that's still
right?
young.
I had
That's
no
totally
idea, and it
yeah.
wasn't until a while I was like, "Oh, okay." That's why my parents, when we saw the billboard for this record, and we're like, "You're not getting that," and now I understand because to me, I'm like, "Oh, it's just like a plain pants and jacket. What's so wrong with
I
that?"
mean, to be fair,
Um,
I also didn't know what an enema was for the longest time
I don't think
either,
right? Like
so
all of us just listening to this, and it's like, I think obviously just a little background of the record, which whether you know it or not, before we share what we feel about this record, is obviously it was produced by Jerry Finn, rest in peace. I really think when Blink worked with Jerry Finn, it was just so magical in so many ways and just something so special about Blink and Jerry Finn and that connection. And you hear that, especially in the self-titled record. And I think a lot of people have said this record is a concept record to adolescence. And I get it. I guess I didn't at the time, but now when I was going back and listening, I'm like,
no, that makes absolute sense, honestly.
absolutely sense. And
Yeah,
it's like, wow, like, and I saw them co-headline to promote this record back in the day with Green Day and the Pop Disaster tour. And I really feel it was that just pinnacle of pop punk during that
I have
time.
to also say I'm so jealous that you
Oh my
went to that
God.
show because
Ooh.
what a lineup,
Oh
like,
my
that would be
God.
amazing.
Yes, and it's like I remember I went with one of my cousins because I was fairly young, obviously, right? And going there, and it was at Tinley Park, the Tweeter Center, but now it's who knows what it's called now. But and the background was lit, and it said "fuck," and it was just fire. And I know they've recently brought that back too, which is really cool that I've heard them do, not this touring cycle, but their first cycle back in the stadiums, all that with Tom. It's interesting because like Mark Hoppus was on record saying on in 2013 that this was their confused, contentious, brilliant, painful, and cathartic leap into the unknown of their careers. And Tom was also on record, and Justine, you'll appreciate this, saying how listening to our beloved Alkaline Trio made him want to dig deeper in this in his
Yes,
own writing. And I'm like, how weird,
I love
not
that.
weird, weird and cool, right? That Matt was the one to replace Tom, but Tom
Yeah,
was
I
looking
feel
to
that all
Matt's
kinda comes full
lyrics.
circle though, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, it shows more of a history of how Matt probably got that place, you know?
Yeah, for sure, and it's like and originally too, I found out and again, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, duh, I knew this," but maybe somebody didn't, that this record almost became If You See K, obviously, fuck, so and I remember going to G like, "Oh, like, did you know If You See K, do you get it?" And yeah, he's like, "Duh, it's fuck," but I'm just saying, maybe when you were younger, right? You wouldn't have gotten it, and I think obviously again, maybe you guys were aware of that, but I think that's interesting, and obviously, The Rock Show, First Date were written in response to their manager questioning the songs, and they wanted a summer anthem, and like, where is it? So in response, they gave them First Date and Rock Show, and I would absolutely say they are still summer anthems, and I dare say some of their biggest hits in their catalog are The Rock Show and First Date, and I know that they wrote them rather quickly too. I think it was like The Rock Show, Mark was like said to like he wrote it in like 10 minutes. So, I mean, there you go. And obviously, three separate versions exist. There's a red plain version, there's yellow pants version, and a green jacket version. And each of them have their different songs on it, which is also really, really cool. Unlike Taylor Swift doing 30 something
Oh
whatever
my gosh,
versions.
I don't understand, like, there's so many that girl's done. I'm just
No,
like,
yeah.
"Stop." There's a moment when you have to be like, "Okay, there's a reason why this didn't end up on the record, like,
Yeah.
stop."
But I mean, obviously, it was fun to look back at that record and what was going on and during the time and everything. But Justine, I know again, Blink is a comfort band for you. You love them so much. What were either the impact of this record or Blink itself, or I know we've already had an episode of Blink, but like not this record.
Yeah.
What were your first impressions?
So, I never actually owned, like, an official copy of it, so I
Hmm.
had obviously downloaded it all from LimeWire, which, if you're younger, we used to have to download music back in the day and put it on a CD,
Yeah.
and that's how we did it for free.
Yeah.
But,
And ruin everybody's computers and
and
the.
we ruined everybody's computer. Like, I've put so many viruses on the family computer,
Hmm.
but, I immediately loved it. I don't think I know anybody that really didn't. Like, I don't
Right.
remember anybody being like, "Oh, this new album is just awful." Like, they just didn't disappoint us that were fans of the band. Like, we were all very happy with it, we all really loved it. I obviously love and adore Enema of the State,
Mhm.
like anybody else, like, that was a big, introduction to Blink. But this album, for me, surpassed it. I thoroughly believe this album, at the time, was better than all their other albums. I know I've mentioned before, like, and Lisa's already mentioned that they are one of my biggest comfort bands.
Mhm.
They have ended up on my Spotify Wrapped years in a row, like constantly, to the point that my friends, whenever we shared our list, like they would crack up because it was always on there. Few years in a row, they were always number one. Like every time, they were always guaranteed to have some of the songs on the favorite songs list, and a lot of the songs from this album definitely made it on that list a lot. So the impact was obviously huge for me. The album just has a way of cheering you up and taking you back to the early 2000s.
Mhm.
Like, life wasn't necessarily easier, but like it just felt different. Like, there it just didn't seem as complicated as it is now. Things felt like they were more maybe achievable sometimes. Things like there were stressors, but yet it didn't seem as stressful as it is now. And this album just helps you go back to that. Like you said, like, especially with the summer anthems, it just makes you go
Mhm.
back and think of the times of being a teenager and it was summertime and you're out of school and you can go to Warped Tour.
Yes.
And it's just, this is just one of those albums that helps take you back and then just make you think of good times and cheers you up in times when you're really going through it.
You said it perfectly, and it's one of those things too that obviously when I got into this record, I was just really into pop punk, and obviously Green Day was like a love of mine. So then again, to see both of them during this era was just I insane, and I would love for them to do something now. Like, that would just be so
Yeah,
cool. I mean, it would
I
sell
would
out
love that.
instantly and be cost us all an arm and a leg, but it would be really cool to have that in some capacity. And I think, man, like you said, like there was nothing better than Blink back in the day. And I just
Yeah.
feel for everybody not getting that chance of witnessing them in their prime. And it's just is like I understand why they're spending what they are, but it's like, damn, because I think there was nothing like that back in the day, and witnessing that and seeing the rise of them, and then
Yes.
now, I mean, they're selling out these stadiums. People can say what they want about them or how they perform and
Hmm.
whatever, but they are selling them out, and even really expensive tickets. So I think that
Yeah.
says a lot about them,
Trust
and
me, I know
yeah.
how expensive those things are. I have yet to have seen Blink, and I haven't been able to see Green Day even,
Oh,
so
well,
it
Justine, we're
ugh,
manifesting this, that this tour is gonna happen I'm
right?
talking
Like,
about, and we're
I'm
gonna
going to
go.
need to put this into the universe to happen so that we can go because
Which
I need it. And what really sucks is my brother got to go see Green Day
Mhm.
during the, American Idiot tour, and it's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, and it's really funny because it's like, my brother wasn't even that big of a Green Day fan,
Right,
and it's not
right.
fair. I remember I was taking I know this is off track a little bit because this is
No.
Green Day I'm talking about, but, like, I was in the middle of my senior pictures, I remember,
Yeah.
and he kept calling and playing songs for me over the phone so I could hear it. And I just like I remember the first time he did it because this is back when like, we were younger and I had no idea people would do that. And I was like, I thought he butt dialed me, so I hung up on him.
Oh my
And then he
god.
then he kept calling back so I could hear songs. But I was just
Aw.
like, it's just like that's not fair. I feel
Oh,
like out
I'm
of the two of us, the person that deserved to go is me, but
oh,
whatever.
trust me, I was the same. I still am the same way sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie. If people see a certain tour and I'm like, "Oh, you don't even like their songs," and or you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, but it's like for me, obviously, I was a record or fan of record. No, God, I'm not a record. Thank God, I wouldn't be on a record. I was a fan of the record, and I'm of the state. But honestly, this was the record that made me really love Blink. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people talk about
That's what I'm
Cheshire
saying. Like,
Cat.
there's just this album for like it was just better.
Mhm.
Like,
Yes.
Enema was still amazing, I love it, but this album just, like, you can tell how much they started getting better at what they were doing,
Mhm.
and it's just better constructed and yes, go on, sorry.
Yeah, no, but you can, and even, like, re-listening to it, it was just, like, so good, and I think I remember my parents, again, not wanting this one around for the cover art. I ended up getting it, hiding it under my pillow, and then years later, they were like, "Oh, this band Blink-182 is blowing up," and then, no idea that I had it because, like I said, like, the cover art and what it was called, but I know I have said it before, and I just wanna come clean that I have since changed my mind, and I have said that the self-titled was their best, and used to die on that hill, and also that it gets shoved to the side in a tier list, but the more I dove back into this record preparing for this, I'm gonna have to change my vote. I'm gonna have to say
Yeah,
that this album is the GOAT of all the records they have, in my opinion, and I have changed my mind. So this is on record that I was wrong when I said that, and, that this record just was pop punk, and although New Found Glory was that band for me to completely make me fall deeper into pop punk, which I said in our episode, and I agree, I was very thankful that so many people did not torch me when I made that comment. I was very nervous about that, and especially when Jordan of New Found Glory shared that part of me saying that in my opinion, they're pop punk and not Blink. I appreciate not getting torched, but I just think that without Blink, I wouldn't have a New Found Glory. So
yeah,
there's so much importance of Blink-182, and I think, again, this record was just everything to me in my high school era, just like you, Justine, and, like, it
yeah.
brings you back to so many memories, and I think even if you didn't or don't like pop punk, I think this is a great record. I obviously fell in love with the rock show. I admittedly wanted to be the girl at the rock show, when I was a teenager. I think this
No,
record
same. Yeah,
right? Like, this record
yeah,
is just so important, not even just a pop punk, but just to alternative music in general and making it mainstream, whether you loved it or hate it. It's how we all got access to them. We were able to see them on these big mega tours is because they became this mainstream band. Love it or hate it. They're so important, but we gotta talk these tracks, Justine. I wanna know, like, I'm curious what we have because we didn't share these before. What are your favorite or top tracks of this record?
first of all, I'm gonna bring up Happy Holidays, You Bastard,
Yeah.
because it is a holiday staple,
It
and if
is.
you are somebody that has, like, really weird feelings when it comes to holidays, especially
Mhm.
Christmas, like
Yes.
I am,
Yes.
it it is the best Christmas song. I
It
don't care what anybody says.
Oh, no, 1,000% Justine, because I still have that in my head when it is Christmas Eve and I've only
Yeah,
wrapped 3 or 4 fucking
yes,
presents, and it's
yes.
I play
I
it
will play it
every holiday.
constantly in the
Yes.
holidays, yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Shut Up is one of my favorites to
Mhm.
listen to still to this day when I'm frustrated or angry. It's just it's a really good outlet song whenever you're just really getting really upset and irritated and annoyed and you just want people to shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
Give me one good reason with the line. I like the ones who say they listen to the punk rock. I like the kids who fight against the way they were brought up. They hate the trends and think it's fuck to care. It's cool when they piss people off with what they wear. That song just hits and is super
That
relatable.
is a
As
Justine song. That is a
isn't it? Like,
Justine song, yes.
literally, that song is relatable.
Yes.
I'm very much somebody that, fashion is a big part of my personality and how I interpret things in the world.
Mhm.
Um, that song, I love that song so much. And
Yes.
it still resonates today as being somebody who's older, who's seeing these younger generations dive into alternative types of cultures, and I still love that. So, like, that song just is very good. Like, it's almost like it was written for me, you know?
Mhm.
And then, of course, there is Online Songs.
Yes.
I love that it's kind of a continuation of the song Josie.
Mhm.
Um, I really love when bands have, like, callbacks and Easter eggs to previous songs and, like, previous albums, and it's just something that's always so fun and great for fans to be able to have that connections and songs. And some people will make fun of those and thinks it's silly when bands do that, but I personally love that because
Same.
I'm also somebody that loves puns and stuff like that, so having that happen is great, and I always loved the song "Josie" too, so, like, I loved this song. It is so catchy and great. And then, of course, I mean, you've got the other staples of the album. You've got First Date, you've got Rock Show. Both of those are wonderful. The whole album is great. It's really hard to narrow it down, but these are the songs for me that are just like the absolute epitome for me that I still will listen to on loop.
It was so hard. Like, again, like, when I was picking I heard my top honestly, the whole record, in my opinion, is flawless. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think but, obviously, I had online songs on there too, because there's just something about the beginning of it where it's
Yeah.
like, "You weren't the only 1, 2, 3, 4," and whatever, guys. I'm not gonna sing it. I'm not Mark Hoppus. Um, but it just goes off, and I just think it's one of those things that I don't know, it instantly was one of those ones where I was like, "That's it, I'm in love with it," and I'm like you, I love callbacks. I know, again,
Yeah.
this is a Blink episode, but Brand New did that on their last record they ever did. There were a lot of callbacks to older songs, and I love that. I love when bands do that, and Roller Coaster, because again, it's just fast pop punk and everything I
Yeah.
love about this genre in one song, and Every Time I Look for You, the opening
That's
of
a good
this
one.
I wanna say this was an American Pie movie. I wanna say one of them. I could be
Might
wrong,
have been.
but I
They had a lot of American Pie connections.
yes,
They were in
yes,
one of them
right.
even,
Yeah,
so
they were in. So and I just think live this hits, in the car it hits, with your friends at a barbecue it hits. I just think in every pop punk capacity, Every Time I Look for You is just so fun, and every time I went back to this record, I wanted to hit repeat on this one. I also had Shut Up because I noticed some maybe listening to now, they may say, "Oh, this is, really immature." But again, I see, like we were saying in the beginning of it, a concept record for
yeah,
adolescents. Here's your song right there. And I think
exactly.
because I do relate to it right now in my 30s. Maybe I don't, but I kind of do. Like, and I think,
Yeah,
but as a teen hearing this, I would have, I did, I would have, I did, of course. I listened to this in high school, so I know, but it's just something about hearing this with the windows down and the summer it hits. Obviously, Reckless Abandon. And
mhm.
obviously, I can't forget. And this is how, like, I know sometimes some people think, oh, I don't like Blink. It's not that. I just, over time, I kinda lost touch with Blink a little bit. I always appreciate and honestly, if I had the opportunity, I would go see them play and have fun and enjoy that because they were such an important part of my musical journey. But honestly, the time that Blink was there for me the most was my last favorite song on this record that I'll talk about is "Stay Together for the Kids."
Yeah,
And I think I was listening to this going through one of the most difficult times in my life, or my parents were on the brink of divorce, and they later did. And I remember hearing the song when I thought that they were gonna get a divorce and all the emotions of that, but also when they did. And I went back to this, and it was just so therapeutic, and I think it just captured what it's like being a teen or a young kid and the toll it can take on you looking on from the outside. And I love my parents to death, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus here, but I think that there were times they were always fighting, and this was my one
yeah,
escape was to put Blink-182 on in my little Discman, and this band just got it. They said it perfectly, and I've always will always and forever have my heart for Stay Together for the Kids. I think it also showed some maturity on this record, but also it was just, again, that adolescence thing and knowing that you go through this, and it was the time when divorce was happening, right? Like, it just was happening. It still is now, but, like, back then and I am very open about how the divorce affected me as a teen, and now it just having the song, it hit, and I just remember being that teen with that Discman on, sitting on my floor, and anytime I hear it now, I'm brought back to that, and I just yeah, thank you, Blink, because it was just such a therapeutic time when I literally thought I had nothing, and I know that there's so many other
yeah.
people listening to this maybe that felt or feel the same way if
I
they're
was gonna say, I
discovering
think
it.
I remember hearing a lot of people that, like, we know our generation had a lot of divorcing happening with their
Mhm.
parents, and I've known quite a few that really relied on that song as well. That song
Yeah.
really hit for a lot of kids that had to go through that, and I know if I were to have gone through that as well, I probably also would have been very, healed and, you know, it been therapeutic with that song, so
Oh.
I definitely understand.
Oh, it's still top tier. If I ever hear it live, I'm just like, "Oh my god," my heart like, I'm like and it
Yeah.
sounds but it just is it's they were such an important part of my teenage years. I remember being even in 6th grade and they're playing, Enema of the State, the record. They're playing it at like a little kids dance we had, and I thought I was so like a rebel, like as a kid listening to Blink and, like and people maybe at the time were like, "Oh, they're posers," but like for me being a kid and finding punk rock and pop punk and knowing what that was and, "Oh, I'm not punk enough to be punk and I'm not this to be this. But wait, as a girl, I can like pop punk and it's really, really great. And here's this great band that's doing it all." And I think love or hate Blink, love or hate this record, Blink 182 is it's such an iconic, such a important just band to so many, music itself. I truly don't think music and a lot of our favorite bands would be here today without this record, without this band. And yeah, I love Blink. I don't know. Justine, do you have anything to add about Blink in this record that we're missing? I mean, it's just
Oh
so good.
gosh. That would take another few hours if I were just to keep on talking about Blink.
Part 2,
Um,
guys, part 2. No.
but no, they are one of those bands I feel like a lot of people constantly saw as a joke because I mean, in a way they were.
Yeah.
They made really goofy lyrics and but at the
Mhm.
same time, as somebody who deals with their trauma through making jokes and laughing, that made them so important. And I know a lot of other people felt the same way. Whereas if you only looked at them from the surface as being this goofy band, you're not going to see the substance that they have. For so many of us, I know I'm not the only one who had this band be so important to them.
Mhm.
Um, it helped me have a bit of a connection. This was definitely another one of those gateway bands that I had.
Yeah.
I had Good
Yeah.
Charlotte, but I also
Yes.
had Blink 182. And I think that's why, like, Blink 182 to this day is still a comfort for me. They managed to, surpass Good Charlotte when it came to that because Blink kept going um, and they were still putting out great music for the most part over the years, and then eventually had Matt join the band, and I still love them because I love Matt. So like I was on board already. But and I think that if you constantly again, like just only see them as this goofy band, you're missing out on so much substance that this band has and how important they are and how much the fans that did understand and get that, memo, um, how much that all of us all these years are still in love with them. And I think that's great, and it's beautiful to see. And you're obviously seeing that in the crowds that are selling out these shows now that they're back together. So,
Yeah, and before anyone corrects me, because I just looked it up, that I thought Blink and Green Day have recently played together, but it was not a tour. It was when we were young, so it does not count
oh,
before
well, that
anyone
doesn't
comes.
count.
Um,
That doesn't count.
because I'm like,
That's a
wait a
whole
second.
festival. That doesn't
Yes, that does not
count.
count, people. But I could see, but no, I think so too. This band is just again, much as I went the Newfound Glory route, I always loved Blink. I was that kid. I have this stupid story about how I lined up, and although I had a problem with Blink, which, I don't think it was on them. I want to say it was their management, but I waited in the hot sun from 3 o'clock in the morning on because I was told that I could be one of the 100 people to meet them when they were touring with Fall Out Boy. And, I waited from 3 a.m. and they were late hour more, this and that, and, they show up and sign for 5 people and leave, and there was chaos and a riot, and I got really upset at Blink. So that kind of catapulted me my anger towards Blink.
Yeah.
But I know that it wasn't just I'm sure there were logistics that we don't know about, and but I do wish it was handled a little better, but at the same time, I know they are Blink, and at the same time that, there probably was not a lot they could do, and honestly, there were a lot of people and only 3 of them. So,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm sure it would have been chaos, but, I honestly, listening back to this record, I fell back in love with it, fell back in love with Blink, and yeah, all that's left is for us to go see them together. That's what we gotta do. We gotta
Yeah.
manifest this and make it happen, and
I know.
oh gosh, I hope everybody enjoyed hearing about this one because I'm glad we really decided to do this episode because it was one that I didn't think about till I think I don't know, I saw somebody post about this record being 23 years old, and it was like, "What?" Like, and it's such an important record, and I knew it was one that meant a lot to Justine to do, and also just so many people. Because when I posted about
Yeah.
this, people were like, "Oh my god, I love this record," and, like, "This is everything to me," and it was just one we had to do, and I think there might be some other records we'll talk about because I think although we did episodes on bands, like, to take one specific record is gonna be fun to do, but I don't
Yeah.
know, I guess let us know what you think of this record, if you love this record, if it is as important as it was for Justine and I, but we will be back next Tuesday, and we have a wonderful conversation with a great group of people. Again, obviously from our favorite place, Pittsburgh. So you will hear that. Um, but also, if you have been living under a rock or you're just finding us for the first time, go back to our first previous episodes. They're Billie Eilish. Justine worked so hard on them, and I don't want them to get lost in any shuffle. Go listen to them because, as someone like myself that did not know a lot about Billie Eilish, I learned a lot, and I'm on this podcast, so I know you will too. So go back and go listen to the Billie Eilish
Even if you don't
episodes.
like her.
Yes,
Even if you don't like her, you don't have to
yes.
like her.
Yes. It's such an important both of them are such important episodes, so for whatever reason, if you're just finding us, I'm glad you found us, but go back because those are really, really good, and those came out before this one, but we will see you guys next Tuesday. Alright, bye, guys.
Bye.